right, hi there, and welcome to my channel. I wanted to come in just very briefly today to talk about the Sussmann trials. And I want to answer this question here, but this is something that I am preparing to talk about this week. And so I wanted to slide in and talk about this very briefly. And so if you have not been here before, I want to ask that you please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and click the bell below so you'll be notified whenever I post new videos or whenever I go live. And so I just want to lay just a little bit of background because I'm going to be talking about my trial notebook strategy, the Professor Blackmore trial notebook strategy, which begins with preparing the trial notebook at the very moment that your case comes into your law firm. And so here is the Professor Blackmore e-trial notebook, which comes in both the OneNote version, but recently I have also created a PDF printable digital version for those people. I still have a lot of, some old school people. So there was one of my old school friends asked me, do I have a PDF copy? And I made a PDF copy of this as well. And so this strategy is based on Buckland's Building Trial Notebooks. And so in Buckland's Building Trial Notebooks, you have all of your different sections of your trial notebook. And they start off with the plan, which I'm going to be talking about later on this week, but I'm also going to be talking about the summary section. And if you've ever served on a jury, maybe you have seen a verdict form, which may look something like this. So you'll have your verdict form and you'll want to know, okay, well, where do these questions come from that the jury is answering on these verdict forms? Well, they come from something that we call the pattern jury instruction or your model jury instruction. So here is an example of a model jury instruction for an automobile accident case in California, which states that a person must use reasonable care in driving a vehicle. And these are some of the things that are making up those elements of reasonable care in driving a vehicle. Things like the driver must keep a lookout for pedestrians, obstacles, and other vehicles. Even further, a driver must also control their speed and movement of their vehicle. And so what I like to do is I like to break these items up into elements, and I like to place them in the summary section of my e-trial notebook. And so here is so here is my e-trial notebook, and it again comes in the OneNote version, but it also comes in the PDF printable version. But here is the first page of the index, and the index tells you some of the things you'll find in this e-trial notebook. And you have your summary section, which is a section I'm going to be talking about later on this week. And here are some of the instructions, because each one of these sections of our e-trial notebook starts with instructions, and each one of the sections, the subsections, will start with instructions to tell you what to do in that particular section of the notebook, so that if you have paralegals, legal assistants who are helping you to construct your e-trial notebook, then they can follow those instructions. Well, we go to the summary section, you'll see the instructions tell you to insert certain case summary forms, but also if there are some other items that you want to place in the summary section of your trial notebook, then you can place them here as well. And in my summary section, I like to add a copy of a chart. So again, the strategy is that you are working on that trial notebook from the minute that that case comes into your law office, so that you're not scrambling at the time of trial to put together your e-trial notebook or your paper trial notebook for my old school friends who like to go into court with the 500-page trial notebook under their arms. But anyway, and so I will know you should have a good idea of the success of your case based on using those pattern jury instructions, because they will guide you in knowing whether you have the evidence to prove up each element of that particular cause of action. Okay. And so then earlier this week, because until you can see what the jury instruction is for a particular case. Now, this Sussmann case is a criminal case. So earlier this week, someone who is reporting on this trial put up the jury instructions. And so I could see the specific questions that are going to be asked to the jury, because that's key. That is going to the bread and butter is made on these questions. So if you don't know what these questions will be, and again, you're not going to know what the exact question is, because you're going to be using as a guide your model jury instructions, and then each side is going to submit their proposed jury instructions to the judge. The judge is going to look at them and see if they pass the smell test, decide what can, from both of those can be in the jury instructions. Then you'll know what the specific question is that is going to be asked to the jury. Okay, and so when I have here, was Sussman's statement false, fictitious, and material to the investigation? Well, okay, that leads me to ask, okay, what statement are we talking about? What is the evidence that we have about this statement? Okay, and so when you go into some of the information, I'm going to remove some of these things from here so that I can add some new things. With StreamYard, you can only have 10 things on your deck at a time. So now that I have the specific questions and I have people saying, okay, well, there was a text message that was sent. Okay, so I'm asking, is this text message going to be sufficient evidence of the statement, the actual statement that you're saying was the false statement that was made? So those are the kind of things that you need to be asking when you are constructing your chart. And so now I have taken those elements now, false statement. Okay, so let's go back and look at it again. Okay, was Sussman's statement false, fictitious, and material to the investigation? Okay, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to put those elements into my chart. And then I'm going to go across, and as I am working this case using my trial notebook, as I'm going along the way, even from the very beginning of the case, I can start to establish the evidence that I need, the witnesses that I need to prove up this particular element. So I start with my chart and I have a box here for the element. And I take that case, cause of action, and I break it up into elements. And so here, false statement. We need a false statement. That's going to be the starting point. That's one of the elements that we need here. And the question that we have here specifically is, was Sussman's statement false, fictitious, and material to the investigation. So you're going to need, if you want to establish evidence to prove up this, whether this was a false statement, a text message is probably not going to do it. You're going to need an FBI agent, witness, someone who was in the room after this text message was sent saying, hey, I'm coming over. I'm coming over, and I'm not coming over on behalf of one of my clients. I'm coming in my own capacity. So you're going to need more than that text message. You're going to need someone in there who is listening to the statements being made in the meeting, someone who can provide any type of notes, or someone who could testify that they said that this person said these statements to them, or there's some recording or video, some type of evidence that would concretely establish that we have a statement. First of all, that the statement is false. We need to establish evidence about the statement first. And so if you can see that we just never really had that. We had things like a text message that was sent by the person before they went to the meeting. Okay. We also have law firm billables, someone who goes to the meeting and then they go back to the law firm and they say, okay, I'm working for Hillary Clinton, and they're going to bill Hillary Clinton for the meeting. Okay. Well, you don't necessarily have the fact that this was the meeting that was attended. You have billing in there for a meeting, doesn't necessarily say what meeting. Okay. You have a whole lot of things of people testifying about what Hillary Clinton told them to do. So you have the campaign manager saying, okay, Hillary Clinton said, yes, we have this information, put it out there. You can go ahead and put it out there to the news media and see what happens. That has no connection with this man, Sussmann. Okay. So I'm just a straight shooter. All right. So I'm just going to tell you how, this is just how I do it. This is my opinion on it. But last week, when I began to see this, now that I have my actual jury questions that are being asked in the jury instruction, now I can begin to formulate how this thing is going to shake out. So I'm hearing people on TV, they're talking about, oh, there's overwhelming evidence, and they're talking about all of these things that I just talked about. The person who testified that Hillary Clinton told them in their campaign that they could release the information to the media. We have these billables. So I'm saying, okay, well, that's great. That's very salacious information, but it does not answer the question that is before the court. And so this person who was saying this, I said back then last week, this is not dispositive to the questions that were put out. This person here is the person who posted these jury questions. And so I'm saying, hey, great. I love this person. He's great. Love him, Professor. However, these things that you're saying are in no way, shape, form, fashion dispositive to the questions being asked in this jury instruction, which must be unanimously believed by each and every member of the jury to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt of each one of these elements, because that is the standard for a criminal trial in our country. Okay, so we have that going on. And so then this morning when they're saying, okay, we're going to have a verdict, well, I'll say, well, I go ahead and tweet it for posterity reasons, that I don't believe that the prosecutor has proved this case beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't see that there's proof of the actual statement. If there are no meeting notes or any other evidence from that meeting of what this person actually said at the meeting. And I don't see even further which is the next element here that we have. Did Sussmann act knowingly, or this is the second part, was this material to the investigation? Okay, well, I just didn't see how who he worked for when he said it would, if it turned out to be true, if the information turned out to be true, who the person worked for when they said it. Yes, okay, it's explosive because you have a campaign going on, but it's not going to be material if that information is true. It's not going to be material who the person worked for if the information is true. Okay, and so it's going to be hard then. This is another element. Did he act knowingly or willfully with the intention to break the law? I don't, I'm sure they'll be able to make out this last element was a statement made in the executive branch, but you have to have a statement first. We still don't have evidence of a statement. So this case really falls, and I tend to believe that a person that has the knowledge that the prosecutor in this case has, I think he knew, I mean, because most very seasoned lawyers will work their case in this way. I think he knew he didn't have the evidence to prove up this case, but that he wanted to put out there what he did have. And so I'm going to be talking about this more later on this week. And I hope that you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you won't miss out on what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about the summary section, but I'm also going to talk about the beginning stages of the trial notebook, the plan section. If you would please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel so you'll be notified when I come back and talk about some of those other sections. And also, if you'd like to purchase access to our copy of Building Trial Notebooks forms, the entire set of forms that are included here, and this is just the first page of the index, you can also find that on my website at ProfessorBlackmore.com as well. I want to ask that you please give me a huge thumbs up. And I also want to ask that you please follow me on TikTok and Instagram. All right. Have a great day.